Listeners, this episode is a first. I do not have a guest nor my co-host Howard on the show today. It's just me, and I'm going to talk about why there's love in the air. During 2024, we learned of several law firm mergers. Well, in this episode, I'm going to provide brief case studies on a number of those announcements. Also, I am going to review the AmLaw 100, comparing their current statistics now with 22 years ago. My goal in this episode is to share why corporate law firms are growing by merger and combination and demonstrate in real numbers how much the legal industry has truly consolidated. It's eye-opening, but I hope you find it insightful too. Hi, friends. This is Chris Batz, and you are listening to the Future is Bright podcast. I'm doing a first-time episode of just myself. You have to know this taking a lot of courage to get to this place. It's easier to interview people than just to talk, although some of you know that I'm not afraid talking. So I am excited about this episode because I'm going to share with you lots of observations of what I've been working on for over a year now in law firm world. And we're going to be talking about why scale matters and why firms are choosing to merge. And that's everything from smaller corporate firms all the way to the largest corporate firms. We're going to be talking about, or I'm going to be sharing about, reflection and kind of comparing what AmLaw 200, AmLaw 100 was just shy of 20 years ago, a little bit more than 20 years ago, and what they're doing today. And so we're going to talk about trends. We're going to talk about, I'm going to share some case studies on all of the announcements of law firm mergers this year in 2024 and what to anticipate going forward. I'm also going to share kind of those conclusions of why firms are merging and what I'm up to and how that kind of interplays together. So to get started, I've been studying corporate law firms for a long time. Most of you know I've been in this industry for 13, 14 years now, but I've had more and more clients approach me, corporate law firms say, Chris, we need assistance with more meaningful growth. Ones, twos, and small groups are not cutting it. And so I've been working with firms to explore combinations and mergers. That's anything from smaller firms of 50 head count of attorney and more. So I've been analyzing, I've been speaking to, and I have been building relationship with dozens of corporate law firms in the headcount of 50 to 200 attorney headcount. And of course, these organizations are larger if you're including the non-attorneys, but usually by a multiple of one. But I am assisting firms where they are really feeling the effects of these incredibly large law firms and the consolidation that's taking place in a rapid pace right now. So let's talk about the AmLaw 100 because this is the pack of law firms that are just taking off and being truly separated from everything else in the United States. So in 2002, 22 years ago, the AmLaw 100 was generating a gross revenue, combined revenue of about 38 billion. Again, 22 years ago, 38 billion. Fast forward to today, the AmLaw 100 is doing 4 times that much. There are 140 billion in revenue. That's astonishing. So that's a 4x on revenue. Now, when you look at the average gross revenue of each firm, again, 22 years ago is 381 million. Now it's about 1.4 billion. So again, that's more than 4 times what it was 22 years ago. So 1.4 billion for each law firm in the AmLaw 100. AmLaw 100 being the top 100 U.S. grossing law firms by revenue. So other things to know, 22 years ago in 2002, there were only 2 law firms that were generating $1 billion in revenue annually a year out of the 100. The other 98 were, of course, less than $1 billion in revenue. 22 years later, It is astonishing, but more than half, 54 firms now of the AmLaw 100 are generating more than a billion. And to break that down, 33 firms are generating a billion to just under 2 billion. The 2 to 3 billion mark, or just under 3 billion, is 14 firms. And then we have 3 billion and more, 7 firms. It's just mind blowing. 7 firms. And of course, Kirkland is at the top, which in 2024 or 2023, it was 7 billion. They're anticipating 8 billion this year. It's just mind blowing. So, headcount is just exploding. So, when we think of total attorneys in the AmLaw 100 22 years ago, that was 64,000 lawyers, almost 65,000. Now, it's just less than one time. So, it's 117, 118,000 lawyers. Average attorney per firm. So, 650 attorneys per firm 22 years ago in the AmLaw 100. Now it is twice that. It's about 1,200 attorneys per firm in the AmLaw 100. Other things to talk about. So we're going to go off of revenue per lawyer, which is a standard metric. $607,000 annual revenue per lawyer in the AmLaw 100. Now it's 1.2 million per attorney in the AmLaw 100. Profits per partner, and forgive me, we're going to use the standard profits per partner number, which includes both equity and non-equity partners. You're looking at, again, 22 years ago, it was about 850,000 per year per partner. Now it's 2.8 million per partner, and that's just mind-blowing. So there's always more statistics, but I want to just explain what's been happening. I mean, obviously, these numbers demonstrate it. We've had substantial consolidation, explosive growth, and of course, there's been price increases. Clients are reducing the amount of firms they're working with, generally speaking. They're finding firms with broader benches and deeper benches, especially subspecialties is a really important thing, as well as geographic reach. So, there's other things to compare to, and I'm going to bring up that second 100. So we call that the AmLaw 200. I don't have stats on that 22 years ago, but let me just talk about today. So revisiting AmLaw 100 today, all the top 100 firms grossing revenue is about $140 billion in revenue. If you do the same thing for the second 100 law firms, it's only 24 to 25 billion in revenue. That's pretty wild. So you've got like a fivefold, sixfold increase on revenue if you just add up the top 100 firms. The second 100 firms, it's a blip on the map. It's just amazing the difference. Clearly the first 100 firms are front running, both on a revenue standpoint, on a headcount standpoint, on a bill rate, productivity standpoint. So if I'm comparing both groups of firms, the first 100 firms on revenue per lawyer is 1.2 million. On the second half, or the second 100, it's about 850,000 revenue per lawyer. And then profits per partner, again, we're going on American Lawyer Stats. It's 2.8 million for the first 100 firms. The second 100, it's 1.2 million. So just mind-blowing differences. And of course, lawyers. Again, about 120, 118, 120,000 lawyers in the AmLaw 100. In the AmLaw 200, it's 32,000. So, a quarter in essence. Yeah, a quarter. So, and then just frankly, the firms are smaller in that sense. So the AmLaw 200 firm, the average size of an AmLaw 200 firm is about 350, 325 attorneys, rather than an AmLaw 100 firm is about 1,200 attorneys. Huge differences. So let's talk a little bit about why, what's taking place. Why are these firms? So what I've done is I've gone in and I've looked at all the press pieces, news pieces on these announcements that have happened in 2024, and I'm going to work with the most recent and work backwards on noteworthy ones I want to bring to your attention that you'll be aware of, and just pull out quotes and facts on these announcements. So Kramer Levin, Herbert Smith Freehill announced in November, the merger is going to create 2,700 lawyer firm, more than $2 billion in revenue. And one of the leaders was quoted in saying, "This is just the start for us in the U.S. It's just the beginning." Obviously, talking about this UK firm combining with this prominent US firm. So clearly, growth is on the horizon for them. Another firm, more recent, September, was Taft merging with Sherman and Howard, being the Denver-based firm, Taft being more of an Ohio-based firm. And Stephen Stein, who is the managing partner CEO of Sherman Howard out of Denver, said this: "At the end of the day, we decided that to best compete and sustain success we've had for 130 years, we needed to get bigger. We needed to combine with a firm that had a much larger platform than we did and could provide greater depth in practice areas we had and could expand our reach into subspecialties and practice areas we'd like to develop and give us access to clients across the country." So a lot of synergies, a lot of conversations around depth, subspecialties. A magic word I'm going to quote here that he also shared is the alignment of our client-focused, people-first cultures and the commitment to our respective communities made this an easy decision. So alignment is a key word that's coming up continuously. I'll be talking about it today with you. And they had alignment. They had two firms that had some alignment that made this successful, made an easy decision. So they created a firm. It's going to be a little more than 1,000 lawyers and revenues of about 800 million. Another firm is Womble. Merging with Lewis Roca merging with Womble, announced in September. So why do they merge? Both of our firms recognize there's a need to scale, I'm quoting, need to scale to have a deeper bench in order to provide the type of legal services that our clients need in terms of skill set and also geographic reach. Both firms realized they had a need to scale and to have a deeper bench. And these were both fairly large firms. So Womble and Lewis Roca came to the table with similar compensation and rate structures. So they're creating a firm of 1,300 attorneys in the US and the UK and combined revenues of about 750 million-ish. Again, consistencies that I'll revisit and talk a little bit more about. Another firm, so Ballard Spahr has definitely been on a tear for growth. They are joining forces with Lane Powell out of Seattle. Again, this was an announcement in September. It was a busy month. Again, why? Why are they combining? Barbara Duffy, president of Lane Powell, is quoted, "We're very strong in our market, being the Pacific Northwest for Lane Powell, but we feel like we're just hitting the limits of our platform." That's an interesting thought, that a firm could hit the limit of their platform. And this combination really allowed us to do so much more for our clients. So they're thinking about their clients and for their lawyers and business professionals. So it's not just about clients, but it's about their own people too. So they decided we wanted to grow in a material way, meaningful way, and we wanted to grow in a way that helped us better provide services for our clients. We feel like our opportunity would lie outside of the Pacific Northwest. So they were thinking strategically in a material way, growth for both their clients and their talent. And so a spokesperson for Ballard Spahr, it's Peter Mujdag. He said, this merger allowed the firm to expand client relationships and attract talent. There's a consistency here. So this firm is going to combine and become 750 attorneys and about a combined revenue of about $600 million. Another big merger announcement, again, I wouldn't say it's a huge surprise. Troutman Pepper merging with Lock Lord, again, monstrous firms. This was announced in April and voted on in September. So why? It offers Lock Lord much needed scale, uh, tripling the firm's attorney headcount after steady departures in the decades since its last combination. And so David Taylor, the chair of the firm, said this expands their footprint um, by combining and joining with Troutman Pepper, will allow us to offer a far deeper bench of attorneys to advise clients on complex transactions, litigation, regulatory matters, in addition to aligning with their values. Oh, interesting. There's inconsistency there. It's creating a firm of 1,600 attorneys, combined revenue of $1.5 million. So again, there's some consistency of what we're going to revisit. Another one that I featured as a podcast episode is I've interviewed the two co-partners of UB Greensfelder. So this is Ulmer Byrne of Cleveland and Greensfelder of St. Louis. Both firms were about 125 to 130, 140 attorneys. They completed their transaction in February 2024. This is what Kevin had to say. For Greensfelder, the competition continues to grow. They were losing ground. Adding 1 to 2 laterals was not a viable growth strategy. For them, it felt like swimming upstream. So they set out to do a merger of equals, which is very hard to do. And there were a number of platforms they explored, they looked at, but felt that they all would lead to attrition. It wouldn't be a beneficial win-win scenario. But what made this transaction so successful was what it made difficult and also made it attractive. It was a merger of equals. So it truly was a combination of equals, is what they had said. They looked at best in industry approaches versus defaulting to their own firm approaches. Their cultures were similar, common values, goals, and people. Again, there's some alignment and consistency there. They both wanted to grow in their presence in Chicago. They were 90 to 95% similar, and they had a lot of work to do to make that 5 to 10% work. So post-merger, they were approached by new clients and new talent they've never seen before, both clients and talent, after they combined. So, friends, why is this happening? Why is this taking place? Clients have reputational risk. General counsel, the boards, CEOs, CFOs, decision makers of these large clients. And perception, even though you think reality is different, perception shows that smaller firms are riskier decisions to give valuable work to. So that valuable work goes to the bigger firms. Not always, but consistently it's happening. Valuable being higher rate work, more headline making work, probably requiring deeper benches, subspecialties, all these things. And so that's one of the reasons why consolidations happened. And clients are also consolidating their outside counsel. So it's very client driven. So the theme, as you've heard me describe here, is firm leadership are merging because of competition. So they are they're either losing talent or they're losing clients because other firms are making these choices to become bigger, to have more talent, and to have more geographic reach. So it's driven by clients and it's driven by their internal teams. And firms that are not choosing to do this, not all of them, but some of them, and are lacking vision and courageous leadership, are losing some of their core clients and key partners to firms that are making the investment. So this is happening in spades, has been since the Great Recession. And these larger firms are able to garner, again, high value work. Their bill rates are higher. They have deeper benches, and they're able to attract better talent. So firms are being faced with platform limitations, as Lane Powell mentioned. And so more and more of these clients are realizing ones and twos are not addressing the attrition that they're experiencing, small groups. And frankly, acquiring partners, ones and twos in small groups, are just flat out expensive. Rather than the cost effectiveness and the efforts, the time, many times is even more fruitful going after an entire firm. So I'm assisting firms with this process. It's all I'm focusing on. I'm not placing partners in groups anymore. My team with the Lion Group is focused 100% on in-house counsel recruiting, everything chief legal officers, general counsel down. I have Columbus Street. And with Columbus Street, I'm focused on corporate law firms, typically headcount of 50 to 200, but I am working with AmLaw firms and larger to help them grow through M&A and combination. And the way I'm going about it is creating alignment with shared values, shared culture, and economics, because that's what make these deals work. And I've been able to talk to dozens of law firm executives, managing partners, chairmen, men and women who are seeing the value and are appreciating the approach that I'm providing because it's saving them time. They're not having these reactionary conversations. They're having very fruitful, on-point conversations. I do have an AmLaw firm I'm working with. They asked me to help them grow in a very strategic way. And the client they're talking to right now, the firm, is a bullseye, is what they've described. And it's very exciting. So I'm helping firms accelerate their strategic plans through strategic and meaningful growth, material growth, where there's effective, well-placed conversations. And if this interests you, I would love to talk. And describe this process, this approach, if this resonates with you. Friends, we've got 5 years. Next year, obviously, well, you're going to be listening to this. It's going to be 2025. 5 years. Is this something you're wanting to do? We should talk. It takes time. It takes effort. And you don't have to have reactionary conversations that absorb all of your energies. You can have very effective ones, and we should have a conversation. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very visible, Chris Batz with Columbus Street. You can also approach my website and find me, which is columbus-street.com, and I would love to talk. Have a wonderful beginning of 2025. If you want to talk about strategic planning, if you want to talk about strategic growth, please give me a call and reach out. Look forward to speaking with you soon. If this is an enjoyable and beneficial episode, please let me know. Please leave a review on iTunes, send a message through LinkedIn or email, and would love to do more of these.